Hi guys, my name is Dr. Lee Sung. Welcome to my YouTube channel. When you're having trouble having sex, something else usually starts happening at the same time. It doesn't stay just physical, it slowly becomes mental too. You start thinking about it more than you want to, worrying before it even happens, replaying situations in your head, questioning yourself. And the more you think about it, the more pressure builds. And suddenly, you're no longer in the moment. You're observing yourself from the outside, trying to perform instead of just experiencing. That shift alone can change everything. From a medical point of view, we sometimes try to understand erection quality in a structured way. There is something called an erectile hardness scale. It goes from 1 to 4. 1 means not firm enough for penetration. 2 means partially firm but not fully rigid. 3 and 4 means fully rigid, the strongest level of erection, but in real life, things are never that perfectly divided. Because what actually matters is not a number, it's your experience. Whether it feels reliable, whether it feels satisfying, and whether it works for you and your partner. Many people notice small changes before anything becomes serious. Maybe it takes longer than before. Maybe it feels slightly less firm. Maybe it's inconsistent. And even these small changes can create a lot of stress, because you remember how things used to be. Doctors often use questionnaires as well, asking about confidence, frequency, and satisfaction with erections. Based on that, we can categorize erectile dysfunction as mild, moderate, or severe. But again, all of this is just a guide, because at the end of the day, what matters most is simple. Are you able to have a satisfying sexual experience without stress taking over everything? And that brings us to something very important, the mind-body connection. Because sexual health is never just physical. When something doesn't feel right, the brain immediately gets involved. You start anticipating the problem. You start monitoring yourself, and that creates anxiety. And anxiety directly affects performance. So what begins as a small concern can slowly turn into a cycle. Worry leads to difficulty. Difficulty leads to more worry. And that loop is very common and very human. Now, let's talk about something else that often plays a role. Medications, especially SSRIs. SSRIs are antidepressants used for depression and anxiety. They can be very effective, and for many people, they significantly improve quality of life. But they can also have sexual side effects. These may include reduced libido, difficulty with erections, delayed ejaculation in men, or changes in orgasm in both men and women. And the important thing is, this does not happen the same way for everyone. Some people are more sensitive to it, some notice it only at higher doses, and some don't experience it at all. This is why communication with your doctor matters so much, because these effects are known, and there are often options, dose adjustments, switching medications, or balancing treatment in a different way, depending on your situation. But none of that can happen if it's not discussed, and that's something many people hesitate to do. Now, another important part of this conversation is managing multiple doctors, because sexual health often overlaps with mental health, hormones, stress, and overall well-being. So you might end up seeing a urologist, a psychiatrist, and a primary care doctor. And coordination becomes important. Sometimes doctors communicate directly, sometimes they exchange notes, and sometimes you become the bridge between them. You actually play a key role in your own care. Because you have access to your records, you can see your reports, medications, notes, everything, and you can share that information between providers so everyone is aligned. That simple step can make a big difference in how smoothly your care progresses. Your primary care doctor often helps coordinate things as well, making sure nothing is missed and referrals are in place when needed. But ultimately, you are at the center of it all. And being informed, involved, and open about what you're experiencing is one of the most powerful things you can do for your health. So when we zoom out, the bigger picture becomes clearer. Sexual difficulties are common, more common than people think. They are not just physical, and they are not just psychological. They are often a mix of both. And the good news is, in most cases, there is something that can be done. Once you understand the cause, you can start working towards solutions, and the goal is never perfection. The goal is comfort, confidence, and a sexual life that feels natural and not stressful. So if you're noticing changes, or if something doesn't feel right, don't ignore it, and don't struggle silently. Start the conversation. Because most of the time, the first step toward improvement is simply understanding what's going on and speaking about it out loud. At the end of the day, your sexual health is part of your overall health, not something separate from it. It deserves attention, care, and proper support. If you found this helpful, take a moment to reflect on your own health and don't hesitate to reach out to a qualified professional if you need guidance. And if you want to stay informed on topics like this, make sure to follow, subscribe, and keep learning more about your body and your well-being. Because the more you understand it, the more control you have over it. And that is where real improvement begins.